Today's program is brought to you by Korin, a supplier of Japanese chef knives and restaurant supplies. For more information, visit korin.com.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Welcome to the Grape Nation, your weekly wine journey. We celebrate our 300th podcast of the Grape Nation with our dear friend Raj Parr. We'll talk to Raj about, well, everything. We'll taste some of Raj's Phelan Farm wines for our weekly wine sip. I'm your host, Sam Ben-Ruby. Stay with us for the Grape Nation on the Heritage Radio Network. We bring wine to the people. Raj Parr has been a friend of the Grape Nation podcast from the beginning. He has been on multiple times to talk about his wines, books, and new projects. He is an award-winning sommelier, author, winemaker, and the most soulful and spiritual guy I know in wine. He also has the greatest uncertified nose and palate on the planet. Nobody will deny that. Raj makes thoughtful wines at Phelan Farm, now part of the Parr Collective at Stolo Vineyards in Cambria, California, along with Stolo, Bridge Wines, Scythian, and his side project, Colette, each unique wineries. Raj pursues his love of the most interesting varietals from around the world at Phelan Farm while practicing regenerative farming in his own permaculture. To Raj, it's all about capturing the essence of the vine from the vineyard to the bottle. Welcome back to the Grape Nation, Raj.
Thank you, Sam. Great to be here.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for agreeing to celebrate our 300th podcast. Yeah. I didn't want to make a big deal, but I certainly wanted to sit down with somebody that meant something to me, and you were at the top of the list. So a special person for a special show.
Thank you.
So the nice thing is we're sitting with Raj in New York City at the office of his imported distributor, Poliner Wines. Let's start with why you're in New York City.
Just to show the wines, promote the wines. For the last, I guess, since the pandemic, I haven't really been to New York very often, so it's a good time to come and you know, because lots have changed in the last couple of years, and you know we've changed different things. So I just want to kind of show the new wines and the new vintage and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Great. So you're with Poliner. You're a distributor. I'm gathering you're seeing retail, restaurants, everybody
exactly,
you can get your hands on. All right, so Raj, let's get right into it. You first joined us on the Grape Nation over 8 years ago, back in March of 2017, so it's over 8 years. That was our 23rd podcast.
Wow.
Figure me, not knowing anything about anything, got you to come on. You were making wine at that point at Domaine de la Côte, Sunday, and Evening Land. Now, what's interesting to me, and we talked about it a little off air, is a lot has happened to you since then. So what I want you to do is give me a chronology pretty much from 17, and you could go any way you want, you know, to present.
Yeah.
Now, don't stop and describe each thing. We're going to taste wines and talk about each project later on. Just set up so that when we get there, we knew that this started here, then whatever.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah. But
so you're on
memory,
the clock.
Yeah, the memory is going to, we're going to go deep back. 2017, I was living in Santa Barbara and traveling around and showing on the Domaine de la Côte and Evening Land at the time. Also was finishing up our book, me and Jordan, our last book, The Sommelier's Atlas of Taste. So 17 was kind of a travel year for that and writing. And then in 18, the book was released. And then my memory of 18, the fall of 18 was basically on the road for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months promoting the book.
So mostly book touring.
Yeah, it was 17 was like book research, 18 was writing, and then in the fall was when the book was released. So from the fall of 18 till maybe even the whole year, has so many events planned everywhere, and that was a big year of travel, and then
So stop there for a second, because I had a question. As you talk, we're going to find out how things really changed and you really made yourself busier. But writing a book, and then you made a pretty deep commitment to promoting it. I mean, you just mentioned you were on the road for months and months going into a year. How disruptive is that to what you were doing, on a day-to-day basis? Two parts to that. Actually sitting down and writing the book, and then it's obvious taking yourself away from it, promoting it.
Yeah, I mean, the research was the hardest for sure, because, the book is written all European wine, and you spend a lot of time in Europe, but the only time you can go to Europe is either after the harvest or in the winter months. So you're always there in like the cold weather, and you're always completely on, because, you made an appointment with like whoever, go see Jean-Louis Chave or Stéphane Tissot, and the appointment is made, and you have to be on. You can't be like, I'm tired today. And so it's like, it was intense. So, and it took away a lot from being at home or being at the winery or the vineyard, and it definitely took a lot of time. But the good thing was also, while you were promoting the book or even doing research, you could, do an event somewhere about the wines and talk about the wines. So it worked both ways. That's why we have a strong presence in Europe with our wines, is because of my time in Europe.
That worked out. Any regrets? I mean, I know writing the book, the process is as fun as releasing the book.
Yeah.
But was it what you thought it would be, as far as consuming your time and taking you away from things?
I mean, it was a lot harder than I thought. But yeah, it was, because I also like to put all the information into a book, and then, because we have so much, like, we do recordings, and voice recordings, and then transcribe, and then Jordan transcribes, and then he writes some stuff, sends it back to me, I review it, and then we go back and forth, because it was a collaborative on all fronts.
Right.
And he's a great wine mind, and it was really
You're working like 20 hours a day, because you get home at night and you're looking at correspondence from him and writing, and
it was intense. It was, and we have deadlines, and so.
That was the second book, right?
The second book, yeah.
Right. And based on all your hard efforts in promoting it, did it do well? Did it do?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely.
Wine books are not an easy sell all the time.
Yeah, it definitely served the purpose. The book was to have a book that would describe classic European regions from the mindset of like why and how. It's a, sometimes you think about writing a book that hasn't been written before. There's many other great wine books, but like the version like in your own voice, and slightly like a little funny, and also about the place, the soil, the people. It's a lot to kind of put together. And
well, also, there are a lot of wine books, and a lot of people say, I want to write the book that I wanted to read, which is fine, but it's from your perspective, experience, and all of that. So that itself, sets it apart. All right. The hard part's still ahead of us. We're at the book. Now get me to the present.
Yeah, so
don't dwell on it. Just give me the time.
No. So 2019 was all the way till probably the late summer. It was travel for the book, still doing events, and the first year, we had a whole year scheduled. And my plans, and then I planned in the fall of 2019. I said, you know what? In 2020, I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to spend 6 months in Europe.
Pre-COVID, you made this decision.
Yeah, I made the plan.
Right.
And so this was like by in the fall of 2019. I was tired already. I was like, so much travel.
Why did that work? Post-book, you had the wine stuff in control. You needed to sort of dig back deep into the soil with winemakers and taste.
Yes, that. But there's another part of which nobody knows, because really I kept it hush because it wasn't like I was going to, we were grafting different varieties at this vineyard in Cambria. So through my travels, it's just come back and we started grafting in 2017. We grafted Sauvignon and Pulsar and Trousseau and Mondos. And
At
Phelan? Yeah, at Phelan.
At the request and meeting of the...
No, it was my idea. I was like slowly grafting, but it wasn't...
You just can't walk on somebody's property.
No, I know. We spoke about it, and he said graft whatever you want. It was 11.2 acres, 4 parcels. He's like graft. So I was doing research, doing soil research and where to plant, what to plant. So I was doing all that work, but it was always like, you know what? I'm just going to graft this, and someone's going to farm it, and then I'll make some wine from it. That was the whole idea. So then my idea in 2019...
Was it part of it for you to... the science and execution, the doing and the result? I mean, isn't that why you would do that?
Yeah, but it was all done with intuition. It wasn't like...
Right.
It wasn't like I didn't have a consultant.
You didn't have Maynard Amarine next to you.
Yeah, I had nobody. It was just me and whatever. I was like, let's just do this. So that was, and then my plan was in 2019, when we grafted almost all of we needed. In 2020, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go live in Europe for 3-4 months, and I'm going to tour around farms all over Spain, France, Italy.
To take in some
get some inspiration.
Knowledge.
Some knowledge, and then see what happens. That was the plan of 2020. I can look up. I had a whole itinerary built out.
Wow.
In 2020 of where I'm going to go, and it was going to start, I think, maybe in like April of 2020. And so then I came to New York. I'll never forget that was actually before New York. I was in France where I got COVID for the first time. I was in Burgundy, and
when was this? Early
January of 2020.
Oh, you got it really early.
Yeah, so I got SFO Paris, and then day 4 I had dinner with Jean-Marc Rouleau and Michael Sager in Beaune, and then I went back to my hotel room. And that night I thought I was going to die. This is crazy. And then Paul Wasserman.
Was it in the news by then?
No, it was it was a little bit, but it's just not
right.
And Paul Wasserman took me to the hospital. I was like, really shaken up. Like, what is this? How can I, never felt this sick before. And anyway, so they gave me some cold medicine. So I stuck it out for a couple of days, and then I flew to Dubai.
Why?
Because I had to go see my mom.
Oh.
And my uncle lives there. So, and I was in a room there for like 4 days by myself.
You flew still being sick, you think?
Yeah, I was not feeling great.
It could take 7, 8, 12 days.
Yeah, this was maybe day 4. I don't know what it was. I'm like, yeah, it's probably the flu or something like that. And I got there for 4 days, and
you were in bed when you got there.
Yeah, and then I felt better. The doctor there gave me some stuff. I felt better, and then I had to go to another stop in Oslo. I'll not forget. I was in Oslo. I felt fine, but I just felt weak. But I'm at a dinner and in a restaurant in Oslo, and they started doing blind tasting.
Oh.
And every wine, I was so far off. I couldn't taste anything.
Did you lose tasting, or was it just really blunted?
No, lost. I couldn't taste anything.
Oh, man.
And so I was so confused. I'm like, and by in 2020 in January, no one was like, by then it's early February, no one was saying, oh yeah, you lose taste buds. So I was so confused. I left dinner. I said, I gotta go. I can't taste anything.
But you had to figure it had to be like my cold or a sign.
Yeah,
right?
but I was so confused. I'm like, I can still taste and have a cold.
Right.
But I
this
could
was
not,
gone.
No, but this was like, it was something like a simple Chablis, which I called like
an easy one.
Yeah, it was like a no-brainer. It happened like 2 or 3 wines. I'm like, this is weird. Anyway, so then I went back. Then a month after, I was in New York, and that was when the La Pollet and all those things happened, and that was really the last time I was.
That was like early mid-March.
Yeah.
That's when it started hitting the news,
Yeah.
especially in New York.
So then when I went back and, and then of course the lockdown and everything else. And that's when kind of like maybe in April, when it was deep in the lockdown, the first week or second week, it just hit me. I'm like, I got to move to Cambria. It was just like overnight. It was like, boom. And I'm like.
So this is when? Early 2020?
April 2020. April, May, around early.
So I think I had a question later on. How did you find Phelan Farm? You started grafting, and then because of COVID.
Yeah. And then I mean,
not clear, but just describe. You're still making the wine in partner with Sashi. You're doing the Domaine de la Côte.
Yeah.
Is that consuming?
Yeah, exactly.
That's your primary focus right now.
And then Greg Phelan comes one day in 2016, and he says, he has some wine, he has some grapes, and he can't sell it. You guys make the wine, and
That's how Greg came to you.
Yeah. So then I went to go see the vineyard, and I was like, wow, this is like the enchanted forest. This is, and so that's how I met Greg, and then asked him if I can graft. That's the first part of the story. And then when I decided I'm going to move to Cambria, then I, go to Sashi and tell Sashi, okay, I'm going to move to Cambria and farm this vineyard. And,
was Sashi's first question, well, what does that mean? Are you done? Are we done? Are you going to?
He laughed. He's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go.
He didn't believe you?
I've never farmed anything before. It's not like I'm like, but he's like, how are you going to do it? I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I don't know. Figure it out. So it was like, I'm like, you got this. Sashi's made
Wasn't
the wine.
he more saying, no, you're not. No, you're not capable of it. Isn't it more of
maybe,
that?
I mean, I was not. I mean
whatever.
Clearly,
right.
It's not something I knew. So, I mean, anyways, but Sashi's made, he's led that winemaking team there, and it's not like he needs me to tell him what to
Very
do.
Very capable.
So it wasn't like, I mean, and at the time it wasn't like we're going to go out and sell wine or anything else. So I'm like, yeah, you got this, he continues to,
I see him in New York all the time.
Yeah.
At portfolio.
So he's moving along. I'm a part.
Darren helping
you.
Yeah,
Darren does the sales. Yeah. So I'm still a partner in Sandy, Domaine de la Côte, Evening Land, but I'm no longer in the operational side. I'm not. I have harvested my own grapes, and so it's hard.
Right.
For me.
So we're at 2020. You had met Phelan. You had done some grafting. Because of COVID and life and everything, you say, I'm moving to Cambria. All right. So take me from 20 on.
So I moved there. So I used to go there in the summer with my friend Abe, and we used to kind of do some work in the vineyard every weekend during COVID.
Why is Abe on the scene then? Like, why does Abe become sort of a fixture around this?
So Abe,
is it because he's just there? Is it because he's the guy that you could use for what's ahead of you? Did he horn his way in? What,
No. Abe moved from New York to LA to start LA River Wine Company.
Right.
2019 was the first harvest.
Right.
So I helped him the harvest.
In Cucamonga.
In Cucamonga, but making the one in LA.
Right.
And his
Los
harvest.
Angeles River Wine Company.
Exactly.
Right?
And then his harvest is early. And so I helped him with the harvest. And then when the pandemic happened, he was living in Carpinteria. I was living in Santa Barbara. And then, we just kind of saw each other. And then when I used to go to Cambria, in those days, you have your little group. You don't see outside people. So, he had his father was, older, so he didn't go out and see anybody. And I was mostly at home. So it was like and then we kind of, so everything we did together. So we spent a lot of time together in 2020.
At the beginning. Yeah.
At the beginning.
Did he possess the skills that you needed? Hoping when you got to Cambria, I need to do these things. Maybe Abe could plug into some of these things.
Oh, yeah. No, because, free thinker, and he has so much knowledge.
Free thinker, the guy's out of his mind.
Yeah, but that's what
He's a philosopher.
He's a philosopher, and no, it's great. So
I don't know why I'm being so nice to him. He's such a pain in the ass. I will never ask him to do the show again. We were supposed to do it not that long ago, and he's just this aloof, erudite, where am I type of guy. And that's my.
Yeah.
I know you have a different relationship,
Yeah,
but I had
100%.
to get that shot in.
Yeah, of course. You can do anything you like.
Thank you.
So he kind of came and kind of like was there, and so he spent a lot of time with me through 2020. And then when I moved there, finally, I moved there after the harvest of 2020 because I had to be in Lompoc.
The harvest of Domain or
Yeah,
the harvest of
Domaine de la
Phelan?
Côte.
Okay.
And we made a little bit of Phelan farm wines also in 2020.
Right.
So we did it all together in Lompoc because we were again a unit. It was very kind of close. We made the wine all together, and then when I kind of left to harvest the Cambria grapes, I was out of the unit because there was Darren was there, and
Right.
we all like lived together, and it was like we had a little pod going on there, and then 2020 harvest comes around. Then I finally move. It's hard to find a place in Cambria. Finally found a house to live in with a friend of a friend, and then after the harvest was like the real, everyone's, I'm there alone in this big house in Cambria, and no one's there. It's COVID, and that's when kind of the really hits you. Cause you're like, okay, you're like here, you just gotta do it yourself now. You don't have anybody else, and so lots of reading through the winter of 2020. A lot of books on farming, biodynamic books, regenerative.
Are you
farming.
going specific to the things you'd like to do or relative to the area?
Yeah, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was just reading books to kind of understand where's it going to lead me, because there's a lot of philosophies, and I knew that I want to farm organically, and I knew that
At least,
and I knew I wanted to try to be more in the nature, because the vineyard's all surrounded by trees, and we're in nature. There's no phone service, no internet, nothing. So I wanted to learn how to do that. So I spent a lot of time reading that winter, and then when the first thing we got chickens and sheep and dogs, and kind of learned how to kind of manage animals. Cause I've never had animals before.
were there specific examples or inspirations, like traveling to the Jura or Loire or Savoie?
Not really.
I mean, is permaculture a fair way to describe the overall thing?
Yeah, it's like a mix of different things. And I got a lot of advice from Jason Jardine from Hansel, really forward-thinking, amazing,
Really?
So during the pandemic, he was the first person who told me, how to set up a regenerative system. And
They're doing it at Hansel?
Oh yeah, for many years, and so a lot of the things I've set up is based on my conversation with him. I never had a chance to go see him because it was COVID time, and then I got busy, and life just went on, And then also during the time I was speaking with Nate Reddy at Hayu, Dan Rinke, who's also in Oregon, Art and Sciences. So a lot of the
this is around 2020, 21?
This is between 20, fall of 20, and maybe spring of 21. Because I have to start
doing stuff,
pruning, and so I have a lot of things to do. I've never done it before, so I've never.
I mean, some things are time sensitive, like you got to get your ass in the vineyard and prune or something.
Yeah,
right?
prune, and then also what are you going to spray, and how you're going to, just how you're going to manage the canopy, and so a lot of things, kind of, but the idea was, after reading and kind of, I kind of said, okay, I want to do regenerative farming. So go to animals first. Learned how to live with the animals, and it's
Ali.
Ali came in 21, and and it's kind of set up. And then I wanted to, kind of create my own guardrails of what what extreme can I go to, right? Because, in conventional farming or in any farming, how much you can go left and right. So I'm like, you know what? Let's try doing completely different, like not buying any products to spray, just making your own compost
That's
tea.
pretty extreme, right?
Yeah.
When you say
Yeah.
guardrails, those are the extreme guardrails.
Yeah, on both sides, So, not spraying.
Explain what you did. I mean, you
not
took it upon yourself to
Yeah,
grow and mix and concoct.
Yeah, and these are all like intuitional things. It's not like a
Recipe.
It's not like a book you can go and say, I read a few
2
books
cups
from
of thistle, 10 cups of salt water. None of that. It was like
it was. There are proportions you use. I mean, there are some. An apple farmer from the Northeast. He kind of inspired me for some of the doing lactofermentations and spraying neem oil and making different preparations and kind of staying as much with nature as possible, because when I got there, it had been taken off herbicides, but it was only since 2018 maybe that started using organic there. But so it still had.
Wait, it was exposed to herbicides or not?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, for a few years. So when we got there, it slowly kind of it's like taking a bodybuilder and having to go vegan. So and not working the soil, and we didn't really have any. Really any way to do, any soil plowing or anything at all. So kind of learning how to do all this. That was like a lot of, 21, using milk for mildew control and that kind of stuff, So different experimental stuff, and did that and kind of stayed in a very low-key, quiet kind of setting for a couple of years. That was all of 21. Made the wines in Lompoc that year also.
Your first vintage was
in Lompoc.
In Lompoc of what year's vintage grapes?
21, yeah.
So that's the first Raj Phelan Farm vintage?
I made 20 a little bit, but 21 was the first.
This is really...
Yeah. And then, and it was still kind of COVID and stuff, so I was using a small cellar in Lompoc and pressing everything by hand, and didn't really have a lot of equipment to work with, so it was just kind of very archaic.
Did you have more grapes and juice than you had help and equipment, or everything kind of worked out?
It kind of worked out.
Yeah.
And, people helped around as much as they could, but it was still kind of like, trying to be safe, and, so... and then that year also, the Stolo family asked me if I could make their wine.
What year is this?
21.
Okay, so 21, Stolo's a vineyard not far from you, technically in Cambria?
Yeah, in Cambria, just the other side.
A little background on Stolo. It's a family vineyard. Are they practicing, thoughtful stuff, organic or whatever?
It was not organic at the time.
But not bad.
But there was no herbicide used.
Okay.
They only used systemic on the canopy.
How did they get to you?
I guess they knew that I moved to Cambria.
Okay.
And they had their winemaker.
Who's this nutty recluse?
Their winemaker was leaving, and they asked me if I could make their wine for them. And they said, "You can make your wine here." And I'm like,
So
okay.
2 things, make our wine and make yours here.
Yeah.
Was making your wine there what was attractive, or both things were attractive?
Both attractive, but I didn't make the 21 there because
Right.
I still want to kind of, I don't want to jump in without so I made.
Being involved.
Yeah, so I made their wine in 21, and I made my wine in Lompoc. So I was living in Cambria, so I was to, and also making a wine alone in a small room was like fun. It was great. You have your own time, you kind of do things, and so I made their wine and our wine in 21, and then came 22, which was a very dry year because in Cambria it rains a lot, but 22. And I went to another extreme. I said, how about if you do nothing? Like no mowing, no undervine cultivation, and only spray milk and some of the concoctions, like seaweed and different things, but just let the vineyard go wild.
This is Phelan.
Phelan, 22. Stolo was...
So you're still doing different things, more things, adding things as
but
each year goes
yeah, the
by.
first year was like, we mowed a little bit and we kind of did, but in 22, we were like, just let it be, and because I was trying to build like, organic matter or something, like I don't have money to get a crimper, and didn't really have all these. Anyway, so 22 was and it was a dry year, so it was kind of really affected the vine. It was like we lost a lot of vigor, but the wine was really good. And then Stolo that year got frosted. First time got frosted in 22.
What
And
effect does that have? Does that
just-
knock out a
it-
percentage of the
60%
potential flowering and all?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was a.
That's devastating.
Yeah, but luckily it was a warm year, so we got some grapes, but it was it was very small. And that year was like, people are coming back to life again, and things are kind of moving along, and but still, and then that's the year, I hired Anna, who's the cellar master, and then that year the wines were really good, but frost affected for the solar part, and then Phelan was a very small crop because of the dry, because we have irrigation, but we don't use irrigation. We have irrigation mostly for overhead sprinklers. So Cambria gets, around between 25 and 50 inches of rain.
Right.
So you don't necessarily need to irrigate if you are smart the way you planted it.
Is Stolo similar? Or
Similar, yeah. And then
they get that kind of rain?
Yeah. And the new vineyard we planted there has no irrigation. So, yeah.
All right, so we're up to 22. You're now involved with Stolo.
Yeah.
You're their winemaker. You're making your wine there.
Yeah, and then
You kinda
23.
skipped the first.
And then 23, the family, they said, we don't want to, we would like to lease the property to you, or they don't want to be in the wine business. So I'm like, all right. So that was like, I had to like
Get capital together.
Yeah, so get some bank loans and trying to kind of put it all together, and then we finally signed the lease in the summer of 23.
Of 23.
And that was the first vintage. I was already farming it from the season, so we started the same. Get the animals involved, and
Is it similar to Phelan, or it takes time, or you're there, or you're not doing the exact same things at both?
now it's the exact same thing.
It is.
Yeah.
So that was the goal. It just takes time.
Yeah, in 22 we pruned it slightly different than it was, and then 23 exactly the same farming. 23 was another challenging year because it rained so much. It rained all the way into May. We couldn't even get into the vineyard.
Was 23 the year the pictures of the gate to Phelan, just roaring floods?
It's insane.
That was 23, right?
Yeah, we had to literally swim across the creek to go prune.
I remember going across it in the truck, and then I remember seeing the picture and saying, how could this be?
Yeah, no, the road, it was, and so by the time we did our first spray, sometime in the early May, mildew had already set in. And so, another devastating loss of crop. In
Too
20
late to treat?
Yeah, it was just, and we don't use any hardcore stuff. So
No,
it was
I know.
just, it was just really hard to get out of the hole.
All right, so let's, I want to move to other things. Let's just bring this, to the end. So Stolo 23, Bridge Wines talk about, and Scythian we kind of mentioned because that's your relationship with Abe besides Los Angeles Wine Company. I know he's come to help you up here and you've been down there.
Yeah.
But so talk to me about Scythian. When did that happen?
So that happened in 21, the beginning, because
Okay.
so Scythian, Phelan Farm, and Bridge all happened in 21.
Okay.
So
Just tell me how the bridge thing happened.
Yeah, the idea here is, so Phelan Farm is all from our vineyards in Cambria, even today. So now
State.
now the Stolo vineyards are also incorporated from this year onwards into Phelan Farm. It's just going to be two different vineyards. And there are different vineyards within.
Will Phelan Farm wines by label have Stolo grapes in them?
Yeah, it's all made part of one.
Okay.
It's all going to
I
be.
just didn't know how you.
Yeah, all the estate from Cambria is all going to be Phelan Farm. Bridge Wines is basically Bridge, my father's name. And they're all from purchased grapes from organic vineyards farmed by friends and people we know. And they all are going to be all in slow coast only from 25 onwards. It's slow coast, San Luis Obispo coast, where Phelan Farm is. And so all from purchased grapes. Scythian is all the grapes from old vines in Cucamonga and one vineyard in Temecula, Southern California. We're all old vineyards planted between 1896.
Now, that makes sense to me. Are there bottlings under Los Angeles River Wine Company from some of the similar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's his project. Scythian is you and him from the outer LA vineyards and all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So talk about Bridge for a second. That gives you the leeway to make wines from varietals that you're not growing type thing. More of a negociant?
Yeah, exactly. That's, because we make a little Albarino from a vineyard, a coastal vineyard. We buy some Chardonnay because we only have a few acres of Chardonnay. So we bought some Chardonnay to make a little Negociant Chardonnay. We make a little Grenache, and we do a Grenache Mourvedre blend, all in slow coast appellation. Yeah.
So that's fun to have that option. Are we missing anything?
No, I think that kind of covers.
All right, so while we have a little break, we have 3 wines in front of us, and I'm anxious to taste them all. I'm not going to look for an excuse to say, gee, how come we didn't? So the first thing you're pouring is the 2023 Phelan Farm straight up Chardonnay, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me a little about this wine.
So this is from the original parcel at the original Phelan Vineyard. Ungrafted vines planted in 2007 on clay and quartz. Kind of a very a cool site, just above a creek, and really late picked. So it's picked this was picked like end of October, and it's like 12 or 12 and a half degrees of alcohol.
It's got great acidity. Yeah. It's got pretty good ripeness, not pushing the ripeness.
Oh, it was ripe. It was the grapes were like yellow, golden yellow.
No, I know, but it's not like this overly ripe, whatever. Now, what'd you say, clay and quartz? Is that particular area, or a lot of that is it?
No, just that one vineyard where the Chardonnay, the pink Chardonnay, and the Trousseau they're all on this clay quartz soil. And so it gives the wine that really kind of the cut, everything. So it's aged in a Stockinger Foudre, 1,200 liter Foudre.
Is that neutral?
Yeah, it was third use.
Okay.
And then
how big is a Foudre?
So difference. This one is 1,200 liters.
Okay.
We have 1,200.
And that's 2,000. Something that you will keep and use, and it'll become even more and more neutral.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a reality, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That the first few vintages will have imparted.
Yeah, this is the third use. So, I mean, there's not, Stockinger also is a low oak impact producer. They don't really make a high impact. So 12 months in Foudre, and then 6 months in a stainless steel tank. And the bottle by hand, no fining, no filtration, a little bit of sulfur added at bottling for this specific wine.
Why, after the Foudre, why does it sit in stainless? What does that do to the wine?
Kind of just does autolysis in the tank in an anaerobic situation. And all the lees gets digested by the wine. So the wine is completely clear.
Right. This is an unfine, unfiltered.
Yeah, completely
pretty clear wine.
So
the stainless steel helps you.
Yeah, get just kind of mix the wine.
It's pretty damn good. You know what I wanted to ask you? When you were talking about getting out in the vineyards and kind of playing as you go, trying everything. How much different are things now than when you started? Were you right on a lot of things? Did they stick? Obviously, everything gets tweaked, but when you look back, were you on the right path?
Yeah, I think so. I think, that was a left guardrail, and now we are creating our right guardrail.
Right.
And I have two amazing guys, Daniel Callan, who kind of heads the Vineyard team now, and Sean Clark. And these guys, are the two working the Vineyard and kind of making sure that we have, because we had like challenges. We had frost 22, 24. We had extreme mildew in 23. So,
Right.
So,
Got hit with a bunch of things.
Yeah, so three kind of hard.
In a way, it's good because you want to know. I mean, you know what I mean. You want to, like, if you own a boat, you want to learn in every situation, a storm, high wave. You want to get hit so you know what to do.
Yeah, no. I just want to stay in business. That's the number one goal.
Well, that's primary.
Yeah, but then it's all
always
to
that point. My point is silly, but to continue to stay in business, you'll be able to.
Yeah, so we need to kind of make tweaks so we can have, a crop, because if you want to do regenerative farming, but if you don't have a farm, then what are you going to regenerate?
Right.
So we have to kind of learn. Our own place and kind of understand that, in a perfect world, you'll do 100% of what really utopia is, right?
Right.
You want to do that. But so in some cases, you can't do that, because if you do that, you have a chance of getting frost or a chance of having mildew. So, we have to kind of cultivate the soil a little bit. We have to mow it down. We can't just,
Right.
This is not a dry place and then, not using irrigation. So there's a lot of things you have to kind of like really, watch. And, so we have to keep learning. So what we've learned now is what our right extreme guardrail is. So this is the year for us to kind of learn that and then kind of straddle somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And what you want to do, what you should do.
Sounds like the best way to do it.
I mean, we're still, year 5, so still kind of learning,
So I have 2 questions, and we want to take a quick break. The first one maybe is a little easier. I mean, you never mentioned this, but my sense from you, just from what I know and, talking and reading, you like cool climate wines and what they do to the grapes and the wines. Is that a fair statement? And is Cambria, was that calculated because it's a cooler climate area?
Yeah, it was a very rough calculation. Yeah, it wasn't like, now what I know more, and comparing the place to, it's a coastal place, so it's nothing like, people are like, why do you have alpine varieties planted on the coast? But if you look at the weather pattern, what's in Jura, in Savoie, and in Cambria, they are very similar all the way till June. And like mid-May, June. And then as the continental climate in the alpine areas, as they get warmer through a summer, it doesn't get warm in the summer in Cambria.
It stays cooler in those regions.
We don't have many days above 90 degrees at all the whole year. Think of having like less than 10 days total. So, it's always, you have 100% humidity in the morning.
Coastal influences?
Yeah, the
mostly
fog.
all
So,
of that? Right.
so your mildew
cools the air, moisture.
Your mildew pressure is always there.
It's there.
It's never, it's like, it's
That's
every
why
single day.
when we talked earlier about all these concocted treatments are to address that and other things.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go into a spray some systemic and kind of easily combat that. But if you want to go in the holistic mindset, then you have to kind of really think of outside the box and think what you can do. So the climate in slow coast is like that. So you have to
So
be
the
careful.
Jura and Savoie, because the heat, they don't have as much mildew pressure.
That's not true. They have a lot.
They
of
do.
it. Oh
Okay.
yeah, because it rains.
I'm not aware. That's why I'm
No, it
asking.
rains a lot there.
It does.
I mean, a lot.
But it rains, but it's warmer.
Well, it's warmer only in the summer.
Right. Like you said, from June on.
Yeah, but the rain is a big problem for them because could rain the whole year.
Yeah.
And of course, same thing, frost can be an issue, hail can be an issue, all these weather patterns. So they have a whole different set. And they have like mildew and ODM both. They have all, I mean, they have a lot of problems. I mean, if you're growing grapes, it's just, there's no perfect situation.
Yeah. Let them deal with that. The last thing is, did you realize sort of how reclusive and taken away from everything you'd be? I mean, everyone got forced into it to some extent with COVID. But you kind of stayed on that path. I mean,
Yeah.
because I remember you talking to you. I mean, I visited Phelan, I saw you, and you just said, I just don't travel anymore. I don't do these portfolio things. I don't show up at Raw Wine. You know, I committed to this. I'm here. I mean, is that what you want? Is it, that's all good?
Oh, I love it.
I mean, you do get out, obviously.
Yeah, no. I love it. I love waking up at 5:30, 6 in the morning every day, going to bed by 9:30, 10
Knocked
at the
out,
latest.
right?
No, I love it. I love it because the body pattern is the pattern of the sun, right? You wake up before sunrise. That's how
biodynamics kind of follow that whole.
Yeah, but it's it's just human nature. Our body wakes us up. You know, even now I'm in New York. Came from a different time zone, but I still wake up at 6:30 in the morning.
Right.
And my wife might wake up and I go back to sleep.
Right.
But I'm awake at 6:30 a.m. So you know, and I'm not used to the late nights and because you have to wake up and be fresh. You know, whatever you do, you go. You know, if you go to the vineyard or if you go to the office, or
when you're committed to something, you use your time the best way.
So I love it. I love being in this. I mean, I try to travel. Try to do all my travel in between 3 to 7 days once in the month. So I'm home for at least 3 weeks minimum. And
you got it down. Now, was there any point in your life that you visualized, whether it was you were with a person or you were at a place or maybe even tasted a wine where you said, I need to take myself away from all of this and be in the vineyards? I mean, you got that opportunity with Sashi to walk beautiful vineyards.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm talking about what you're doing. Did you ever visualize that?
No, never. I never visualized that. I never even thought that I would do that. Because when you know something and you tell someone to do it, it's different than doing it yourself.
Right. That's a good point.
And then when you make your own mistake and you realize that one mistake you made is going to haunt you for 2 seasons after that, that is very, very impactful. And nobody can understand that. If you're buying grapes or you're having a farming team farm for you, that mistake is so powerful. And to know I'm happy I made those mistakes. I'm happy I'm still in business, barely, but hanging in there. But those mistakes are powerful stuff. And it really is like a real blessing to have experienced that.
Yeah, I alluded to that earlier, where it will only help you. All right, Raj, we have to take a quick break. We're talking to Raj Parr. Raj has got his hands in a lot of things. We're going to continue to talk about those. We have Raj Parr here helping us celebrate our 300th episode of the Grape Nation on the Heritage Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Today's program is brought to you by Korin, a supplier of Japanese chef knives and restaurant supplies. Korin is proud of their Japanese culture and traditions, but they want you to know that their products are not just for Japanese restaurants. Their knives and tableware bring out the best qualities of food from every culture and fit into every restaurant from French to Pan-Asian to American. And that is why they're located in New York City, where people from every country in the world come to eat. Korin's Tribeca showroom is home to the most extensive collection of Japanese chef knives in the world, including Japan. Stop by to view their exquisitely designed tableware and the rarest natural sharpening stones. They have a whole range of knife services from repair and rust removal to reshaping and realigning. Korin is dedicated to this ideal, bringing the highest quality Japanese design to your table so you can experience the unparalleled quality of Japanese craftsmanship in your home or restaurant. For more information, visit Korin.com.
All right, we're back. We're back with our guest and friend and attendee for our 300th episode, Raj Parr. Before we talk more about the wines, I want to get off topic and just get your take on some wine stuff. We talked about you don't get out as much as you used to, which means you see less, experience less, taste less. But you make it your business to get, out. I'm just curious, and this is such a general, big question, not a softball. But what do you make of the wine world today? Like, what are the things that immediately come to mind?
Oh my God!
I could throw you softballs and say, there's everything, but now we're dealing with tariffs.
Do you have an hour? No. So I think that we are in a crossroad, which it was coming. It was it's a generational shift. The baby boomers are kind of phasing out of collecting wine because they bought collected wine and drank wine for years. And now the younger generations, they are drinking less, maybe drinking more selectively, maybe. So
documented consumption is less, and less wine,
and
less alcohol.
Yeah, so I think that has to be, has to mean something because, they're drinking less, okay, and then the baby boomers are also drinking less or have stopped drinking because at one point of age,
I drink less. I mean, I'm a baby boomer, I'm a collector, and I'm a wine lover. I can't crack a bottle open every night with a burger or whatever. It just screws my sleep cycle up.
Yeah.
I don't process it as an old guy, so I'm a little more out of the game.
Yeah, so that is what the situation. Now, the young generation also wants to be much more selective of what they're going to drink. They're going to drink things they like, or may pay attention to more kind of sustainable, conscientious wine, organic, or whatever the case may be. So these things are very these kind of are disrupting the normal channels of sales. So then there's everyone's dreaming, be the drum, it's the end of the wine and wine is dying, and maybe that's happening in certain wine sectors, but I think that
I don't think it's dying.
No, but people are saying this.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying this, but
right.
People are saying this. There's a lot of kind of like, and I think that you just got to be more selective, and you have to have a meaningful reason why you make wine. You're not making wine just to kind of fill a sales channel. You're making
that's you, and I agree with it. On the consumer side, generationally, I think they are looking for one, a story, and two, thoughtfulness. This guy's sustainable, regenerative, organic, and I think they'll go for that first versus nothing. So I agree with that, and that shows in the numbers. Are you feeling that? Because you're the guy in the middle, with that sustainable, thoughtful, there's a great story.
Yeah, I mean, everyone feels that. It's
no
just,
way around it.
It's just that, we're in a small little town. We have a small tasting room there, and that supports a lot of us, all the farming efforts we do. And, and it definitely affects the people who are coming in, people who are signing up to be a wine club member or signing off because they're like, we can't afford it anymore. We just don't drink anymore. So it definitely affects all of us.
When I knew the world changed, I've been a collector for 30 years, have verticals of virtually every good California cult. When they start sending you letters to buy more wine, like Harlem would say, here's your 3 bottles. When they say you want more, then things are changing, that type of stuff. So perfect answer. You didn't struggle. I think you're on topic. Does one other thing come to mind, that you think about going on today like that?
I think covering, I think think that's what I know right now. Again.
What about the world we used to be in? I mean, restaurants don't have as many somms.
Yeah.
The wine lists, everybody's struggling. Are they natural?
I think all of it
that's the past. What it was.
Yeah, I think all of it is just going to be an adjustment to the reality. Because a lot of things changed during the pandemic. The drinking style, takeout or eat at home, drink at home, that idea kind of continued. It was maybe a little bit of a boom in 22, 23, and then again it people are staying home more and yeah. I mean, I think that it's just a new pattern. It's just the new reality.
You and I could do a whole show on this topic, but I want to know how it affects you, and that's climate change. Are you less prone to things because you are in a cooler? You're in that canyon. You talk about the coastal influences. I mean, is that?
No, it's we got frosted in 22 and 24.
Okay, so
never
I
had
forgot
frost before,
that, right?
So that's definitely scary. Later, yeah,
later winters, right? Or
frost
in the
cold
spring.
So
yeah.
Frost of 22 was like on May 16th or 17th. May.
Wow.
Yeah.
Frost
in the middle of May.
Wow.
And the frost of 24 was early April, which is normal.
Right, expected.
So even now we have to be on frost watch all the way to another month.
I mean, can anyone remember when there was frost in May? Not really, right?
Yeah. So
it's real. I mean, we know it's real, but it's happening, and it's happening frequently.
Yeah.
Because you've committed yourself from organics to regenerative farming. On the topic of climate change, does farming that way make you a little more bulletproof to maybe the challenges of climate change or other stuff, or they don't connect?
They don't connect. There's some connection, but not that deep. Climate change would be like if you have an extreme event of any sort, can happen to anyone, whether you're conventional or organic or regenerative or biodynamic. I think that just happens in cycles.
Right.
And we have to do our best to kind of control what you can control and try to make it through this.
Right. Before we talk, we're going to get back into the wines. We're going to taste a couple more. I'm not sure I know the answer to this because I'm asking you. I mean, I know your feelings and I know certain things, but how do you handle sulfur in your wines? Are you not adding sulfur to any wines?
Depends.
And it doesn't matter to me. I'm not backing you against the wall. I respect and admire what you do, so I want to know specifically how you're doing it.
Yeah, so as of anything we do, we have no rules and recipes.
Right.
The Phelan Farm wines, the most important thing is to have a stable wine, to have a delicious wine, and have a wine that's grown and made by us. And so that's how we bottle by hand. And, in the vineyard, we'll maybe have one sulfur spray, small sulfur spray, one, maybe two. But it's not like just spraying sulfur copper for like 10, 12, 14 times. So it's just a little bit during the flowering time. In the cellar, if the wine I feel needed, we'll do it only at bottling.
Only when?
At bottling. Before bottling, we'll add a little bit of sulfur.
So literally and technically, when is that? When it's still in the barrel, ready to be dumped into bottles?
So when from barrel, it goes to tank.
Tank. You'll treat it in the tank.
And then we'll maybe add, 1 or 2 or 3 grams, depending on the wine. Sometimes we also burn a sulfur wick, elementals, burn it into the tank, and then we'll rack the wine into it. So we've tried different trials, but the goal is to make the wine delicious, and it's not like keep dosing the wine with sulfur.
Right.
So we also played with the idea of maybe making 2 cuvées, if it's a bigger cuvée, one sulfur and one no sulfur. I don't know. I mean, but I'm not like a
Well, you're not
pro or-
formulaic.
yeah, so
And there's no like this wine always.
like the next wine you're gonna have has no added
All
sulfur.
right, let's pour it.
This is the Sauvignon Chardonnay.
All right, so people hear Sauvignon, they're thinking Sauvignon Blanc. This is Sauvignon, Savagnin.
Yeah, exactly.
Just give me a little the background of the Sauvignon grape.
It's a very old variety, also called Traminer. It's related with Gewürztraminer, as people know. But Sauvignon is a high acid variety, really thick skins, bud break much later, sometimes 2 weeks after. Like right now, we're just starting bud break in Cambria. What, April 28th, 29th? It's just the beginning of bud break, just little, like just starting. Chardonnay had bud break like 3 weeks ago. So, it's really, waxy. It's waxy. It has slightly kind of a lanolin, kind of green notes to it. Has a lot of acidity and freshness, lower pH. Yeah.
So how much does the blend vary every year based on the grapes and the vintage, or do you stick to 50-50?
So we have so little of the Sauvignon. Is again the last.
You blend what you have.
Last 3 years. So we do 50-50. So basically, we first pick the Chardonnay and we'll fill the 500-liter barrel. We'll fill like a half of it, like maybe, and then after that we'll just top it with the Sauvignon we pick after. So, and then we fill the barrel and we'll ferment some with the headspace and some will be in a little small keg.
All right, so I'm going to be very base with you. I'm doing this for my listeners. I like Chardonnay, but I don't like certain styles, the big buttery stuff. We just tasted your Chardonnay, which is wonderful. By doing the Sauvignon Chard blend, what characteristics am I getting, along with the Chard? Like, sell me and entice me. Like, I don't need Chard, I need this blend.
Yeah, so Chardonnay is more round and creamy in acidity, but when you put the Sauvignon there, it just perks up the wine. It's got more cut, it's got more acidity, it's just more laser. And that's just a variety. I mean, we in 24.
But laser, you're in a precise way. I mean, it does the job the way it doesn't, screw around. It's a good blend.
And both these wines were bottled pretty much the same day, all bottled by hand. And this had 2 grams sulfur added, 20 ppm, and this was 0. So that's just your question. So
right,
it's not.
It's
you can't tell this has. It's not like a big difference.
In Europe, Sauvignon Chard.
Yeah, Jura.
Typical blending in the Jura.
Yeah,
right?
Not everyone does it. Some they do it when they have some either a special vintage or if it's usually they do it separately. I'm going to make it separately mostly.
Right.
When I have enough. Like in 24, we have a Sauvignon Chardonnay and we have a pure Sauvignon, and as we planted more vineyards and more Sauvignon, so that'll be more.
It's terrific. I mean, I love them both, and I think there's a time, place, and reason why you would have one or the other. I think you're like me. I don't mind drinking warm wines because the flavors come out.
Yeah.
But these are good chilled wines too.
Yeah. You can.
Certainly the Sauvignon. All right. So let's talk about the wineries, and all the stuff we talked about at Parr Collective. One of the things I mentioned in the intro was, I think obsession may be fair. You have obsession or a love for certain varietals. And I think that you have the opportunity to, work with them. At Stolo, it's more traditional, the varietals, right? Syrah, Pinot. Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, so a lot has changed,
That's what they were.
Yeah.
Tell me what.
In the past, it was, Syrah and Gewürztraminer and Sauvignon Blanc and all those things. So we've planted, grafted. So there's now the new evolution is, of course, we have Chardonnay, Pinot there. The Sauvignon Blanc was grafted with pink Chardonnay, so pink skin Chardonnay. The Gewürztraminer were mostly all grafted to Sauvignon. And then The Syrah is still there. We sell the grapes to some friends of ours.
You're not making a
We don't-
Syrah?
No, we made some in 23, but we haven't made any in 24, and probably not this year either. And then we planted Trousseau, Gamay, and Grange.
What's the last one?
Grange. It's
Spell.
Gringet.
Oh, Gringet.
It's
I know, but just when
Yeah.
you see it, it looks like Gringet.
Yeah.
Grange.
So we planted that, and then next.
Now, do these exist at Phelan? Some of these varietals?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You've added at Stolo. some
Yeah,
of
so
them.
now Stolo is
We'll get
called,
to
called
Phelan.
Phelan. So it's basically all under one. It's all under Phelan. Stolo is just the name we gave it.
Is that the mentality? You know, you got to Phelan, you figured out what you wanted to do, you started early grafting, and then you started kind of trial by error doing. You were able to sort of acquire more good property, and you may have mentioned it. Is it just an extension of Phelan? You're not
Yeah.
looking for two separate identities
No,
necessarily.
it's all Phelan because
Okay.
we're gonna have a map and
Right.
basically the
Yeah, I
the
mean, you
Stolo
could-
vineyards will be Phelan Farm.
But that's
Phelan
why the
Farm,
varietals you mentioned are at Stolo now and all of that.
Exactly. So then the new vineyard we're gonna plant next year is gonna be another parcel of Chardonnay and Pinot and probably some Chenin Blanc. That'll be
And there's an existing winemaking building facility.
there's a winemaking
Can
facility.
it handle your capacity right now?
Yeah. And
So
then
that's great.
and then we also have a tasting room there, an event space. We are hosting a couple of wine fairs there.
Agritourism, Raj. Whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it.
no, trying to survive the storm,
Yeah, really.
But it's been fun.
So Stolo's exciting for you.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
if you're in it for the long run, there's the perfect kind of build out for you and all of that, which is nice.
Yeah.
Now, Bridge, you're all over the place. It looks like a dozen varietals,
Yeah,
like
but-
we
but-
mentioned earlier.
But from 24 and 25, Bridge is only slow coast, San Luis Obispo coast, only from the area.
Varietals from those areas.
Exactly,
But did that cut down which varietals? Talk
Yeah.
to me about what varietals.
So it's Albarino,
Okay.
Chardonnay, Gruner Veltliner, Grenache, and a Grenache Mourvèdre blend.
No Astertico?
No, we made that only once.
You did?
Yeah, but so now it's all slow coast, and it's only the varietals which are grown on the slow coast.
I didn't look. I should have known the answer. Are you doing single varietal, blending, both?
The only blended wine is the Grenache Mourvèdre blend.
Okay.
The
Which
Osso
is a
Rouge.
classic, blend
Yeah.
anyway.
And then one more addition, which nobody knows probably, and you're gonna laugh at this talking about different variety. I have a vineyard I work with, and we've planted some new varietals there.
Wait, this is a different vineyard than
This
anything we've discussed?
hasn't been released yet.
This is some other guy?
This is another vineyard. It's the highest elevation vineyard in Santa
the
Barbara
area?
County. In Santa Barbara County,
That's south of you, right?
yeah, that's south. It's like an hour and a half from me, but this place is magical, and we have some
What?
Nebbiolo,
Oh, man.
which is great, and then we have a little bit of Nero Mascalese,
Oh, so Italian variety.
Caricante, and Catarato.
So on the Nebbiolo, do you have designs to make a California Barolo, or you just make what it'll make? Your expression's the right answer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
so
We'll figure it
the
out.
23 tastes like Nebbiolo. That's what I say. 24 also.
That's good.
That's all you want, right? You
Yeah.
start, and then you can never compete with the legends of the Langhe. But I love Nebbiolo, and the idea is let's see what we can. It's a special place.
That'll be fun.
And we are bottling the 23 end of June, so I'll make sure you get a bottle to
So
taste.
I'm going to ask you this later, when anybody wants more information, where do they go? But where will that become available? Like in the wine club, online?
Yeah. All these so many small cuvées.
Yeah,
which-
but it's pretty much in your community.
Yeah,
You're
it's-
not
it's-
necessarily going to see it at Flatiron Wine so quickly.
No,
it may
it'll-
never
no,
get there.
No.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, people who know you or are now intrigued, they have to know how they could, get involved with that.
Parcollective.com. That's where, and
Right.
and most of these wines go to our club members.
Right.
And people who
Well,
come
you go to
tasting
Park
around.
Collective and you understand that the best way maybe to be part of this is to be a club member, versus
And
buying
that,
it.
that's what we are.
But we'll talk about that too. All right. Scythian, we talked about. Scythian is only wine made from the really old vineyards outside of California that Abe's not doing with Los Angeles River. This is a collaboration between you and him under the Park Collective.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you making? 2-3 wines?
We've made like 8 wines.
8 different wines?
8 different wines.
Through the years, not in 1 year.
In 23, I think we made 8 different wines.
You did? Okay.
But in 25, I think it's only going to be 2-3 wines.
Why is that?
It's just hard to go back and forth. It's a long way out.
Oh, okay. So it's circumstantial.
Yeah, so we'll make whatever we can in that vintage. So TBD, but we're gonna, the Palomino is amazing because the old vineyard planted in 1912, the Zinfandel planted in 1918.
When they were making Palomino that long ago, was it vinted just as Palomino, or was it made for like?
I don't think anyone knows because there's some sherry style wines.
I was gonna say, was it for sherry? Did they?
There was some sherry style wines, but it was abandoned for many years.
Yeah, so who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Quickly, Colette is a Merlot with Marie Poncenet. Her family actually is in the business. You and her make, one bottling of a Merlot?
Yeah, 1 bottling of Merlot. It's from this amazing vineyard called Black Vineyard in Coombsville in Napa Valley.
That's a cooler climate, right?
Cooler climate, farmed organically by our friends, and really a special vineyard planted in 1985 on volcanic soils. I was turned onto the vineyard by my dear friend Tegan Pasalacqua, who also makes wine from the same vineyard. And it's a special vineyard. I mean,
how'd that come about?
Marie worked harvest with us in 2015, and she wanted to find a good Merlot spot. And then
she's a sweetheart.
She's the best.
Yeah. All right. So finally, let's end this wine talk with Phelan Farm, which is really the root of all of this. But we mentioned a lot of varietals and stuff. It's fair to say Phelan's the home base, right?
Oh, yeah.
And let's talk about currently what varietals are out there.
So, of course, Chardonnay, Pinot, Gamay, Trousseau, Pulsard, Mondouse, a little bit of Mencia, Sauvignon, Pink Chardonnay, Altesse, Jacquard, and Granger.
What is that, 10, 12 varieties?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What's the smallest parcel of any of those?
Probably the Mencia is the smallest,
like
half an acre.
Half an acre. Are you bottling that straight up as Mencia, or are you blending?
We bottle it separately. We do a little, it's just, by mistake, someone put goats in there and they ate all the vines. So we haven't really had much.
Your goats?
No.
Someone else's?
Yeah. Anyway, so they ate a lot of the shoots and we've had not a whole lot of crop there a couple of years. So anyway, but we make a little bit and it's delicious.
Do you, like on the Pulsard, the Trousseau, do you look at certain makers or vineyards for inspiration? Like, I wouldn't mind if it turned out like this, so let me see what he's doing type stuff?
Oh, it's...
or again, you let the vintage and the soil and your experimentation?
Yeah, again, I've only been to the Jura in the winter months.
Okay.
I'm going this summer for the first time ever to the Jura and the Savoie to see how the vines look at when they're growing.
Right.
So we learned something new, and I'll have something more to add next time we talk.
So I was going to ask you, are you maxed out with all these projects, and do you want to expand? And without even twisting your arm a centimeter, you find this Nebbiolo thing and you're off to that. So I assume it's situational. If something's cool or it interests you, it presents itself, you're open. Because it sounds like you have the confidence, expertise, a little facility to kind of do that.
Yeah. I mean, the Italian varietals, that's a very small. It's only a total of like 2.5 acres.
Yeah, no,
So
I
it's
figure
very small.
it's
It's just.
but it's still, you're not saying no.
But also it takes so many years to kind of get there. So you plant a vineyard, then it starts to produce, and then you age it for 2 years.
Right.
So it's that's a
Wire to wire is a
6 year
long time.
for to make like 2 barrels of wine.
I know. That's
But no, I mean, I just love the life, and I love to be involved in the vineyards. And this other vineyard I was talking about, the gentleman who farms it, he planted it in 1978, and he's there all the time. And this guy is a real genius, So anyway,
you're happy to be associated with him and his fruit.
It's a vineyard at 1,500 feet elevation, and it's just a special place. And something special comes out.
Makes sense. Why not?
Yeah, I mean the one new thing, which again, which we're going to, I've always loved to, wine glass. So we had designed a wine glass.
Kind of a universal one.
Yeah,
right?
a couple of years ago. So we've kind of tweaked that, and now we're going to release the new
White wine.
No, it'll be universal, but slightly different than it wasn't before.
So what did you learn now that wasn't going on then?
No, I like small wine glasses, and this is a small wine glass, but handmade.
Even for a Burgundy or a Cab
or
your Mondu.
It's
What's it called?
It's the Parr glass.
Okay.
And you'll see it will release in the summer with Glassman.
The new one.
Yeah, the new version of it. And I'm excited about it because
Look at you! You'll be making popcorn next.
No.
No, I trust you when you design a glass.
No, it's the glass I would drink from, and it's a tasting glass.
Well, yeah. I mean, all right. So I want to do 3 things. You're subjected to the wine list. You will be our 300th wine list. Cool. We do the weekly wine sip, which is the formal part of the show where we taste the wine. So we'll taste the last wine and evaluate it for that. But I want to get a plug in and talk to me about it. You're doing a little wine festival in Cambria on Sunday, May 18th, kind of around the corner.
Yeah.
Called We Could Be Zeros. Not hard for people who know what's going on to figure it out. Tell me what's going on there. Set it up for me a little. Tickets, I think, are still available.
Yeah. So we are doing 2 tastings. One is the We Could Be Zeros on May 18th, and one is Slow Coast and Friends on June 29th. The We Could Be Zeros is organized by my good friend Eric Tucker.
Who is Eric?
Eric's in LA in Silver Lake, and he has a wine bar called Melody.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great place.
Good for him.
And he did this tasting at his own place last time, and he wanted to kind of do it.
Blow it out a little.
Yeah, do it with us. And so he's doing it at the Parr Collective, outdoors and super casual, and 37 producers all together. And it's going to be great. And the tickets are available on our talk.
And
Parr
reasonable.
Yeah, it's $45 and then $24 trade.
So I think I'm going to be out there visiting my grandkid in LA. All I have to do is get into a car.
Exactly.
You're just going to have to point me to a place to stay Sunday night. I ain't driving home.
No, I will sort it out with you. And the second tasting is Slow Coast and Friends.
San Luis Obispo, which is slow.
Yeah. So basically, it's a new appellation, and we really want to kind of promote it. It's new. So it's 7 producers who grow grapes.
So the Slow Coast tasting is 7 producers in that appellation.
Yes,
or whatever.
who are farming.
Throw some names out.
Farming organically and making low intervention wine. So Scar of the Sea,
Mikey's wife's wine,
and Lady of Sunshine, Gina, the Dunites. Then you have Outward, Ryan and Natalie. Then you have Phelan, Stolo, and then Rancho Aurora Grande, which is a new label. I made the wine for them last year. I sourced my Grenache and Mourvèdre from them. It's beautiful,
is it a Rhone
amazing
style winery, or those just happen?
Well, they make a little bit of wine. I make a little bit of wine from them, but they have different things planted, many varieties. So, and then it's Slow Coast and Friends, and then each producer invites one of their friends.
So it doubles up there.
Yeah. So then you have
So who's Mikey inviting? Do we know or not yet?
Oh yeah, so the list of people who are coming from the 7 we already have, and we have Alice and Topher from Amvi, Mike Roth from and Craig from Lo-Fi,
Right.
Tegan Pastelacqua,
Oh, great.
Sandlands, Chris Cherry and crew from Maha, from Villa Creek in Paso, and then Gellert and his wife from Ambit, also Paso, and then Arno Roberts, and then Madsen, Ken and Cole.
That's an awesome.
Yeah,
These are 2 awesome events.
Yeah, 14, and then of course, and then we'll also have one table where there'll be other slow coast one-off wines being poured. So Kaylee from 4C Wine, she'll have a wine. Carol Kemp, Alma Fria, he makes a wine from Stolo, a Syrah from Stolo. And then Darren Delmore, who makes also a Syrah from Stolo and a Pinot from Bassi. Drake Whitcraft makes a Syrah from Stolo. And Ashkan, who also makes wine from Slow Coast.
Jesus.
So, yeah, it'll be a fun tasting. It's a reason to get together with friends on June 29th.
Well done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really the right people with their great wines. It's an opportunity for people with an aggregated, curated collection of great wines. All right, Raj, you can't leave the table, and we'll give more information on that before we cut out. You can't leave the table without doing our weekly, we'll do that next, without doing our wine list. I know you're getting old and your memory's starting to suck, but you've done this a few times,
Yes.
so it's not new, and don't get nervous. 5 questions, same 5 questions to everyone.
Yeah.
This is the 300th time I've asked my guests these same 5 questions. Spontaneous, don't dwell on them. I got to get you out of here. First question is, what are you drinking now? What's in the fridge? What are you curious about? You're in the midst of a travel, so maybe your habit changes. You're in New York. I could try this. Tell me some of the things, and not just for work type shit.
What I drink at home or what I'm drinking?
What are you drinking now?
I've been drinking a lot of Sangiovese.
Okay,
From
and
Tuscany.
Is that because of this little vineyard thing you have? Oh, no, that's Nebbiolo. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, give me some specifics.
I've been drinking a lot of Istine.
Just tasted it yesterday at the
Yeah.
Chianti tasting.
Yeah, so great.
Delicious.
La Bonce,
Spell.
Leboncie,
Okay, La Bonche.
and then Ciglana de Sopra. They're going to be here. They were interns with us in 2017, and this young couple making amazing. They're going to be here for the Convivio.
Are you leaving town before that?
Yeah. I have to
Yeah.
get back
I did
to
a
work.
couple of shameless plugs. I did a podcast with Jeff and Raj
Oh, nice.
to talk about that. And what caught my interest was similar to what you were just talking about, which is a very thoughtful, curated list of winemakers and wines you don't always get to see and taste. Another shameless plug is Stella Di Compalto's coming to town
Legend.
to pour for that. And she agreed to sit with me and do the podcast.
Lucky
so
you.
to me, that's a lot of fun. All right. So anything else?
It's pretty much just been,
All right, those are good.
Cold spring.
And I post those. All right. You love to cook. You actually went to CIA and tried to start on the food side. Favorite wine and food pairing? Yours. Not what we think is classic, but what you love. Obviously, you don't eat it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
going to
mostly
see if this compares to the old ones. Go ahead.
I'm mostly vegetarian now, so.
All right, so it changed.
So yeah, it's so
All right, so asparagus and gevurt. No, what is?
No, I make this cabbage dish with turmeric and some chilies and.
Is it braised or?
Yeah, it's just like sautéed with turmeric, and I'm also working on a small cookbook, a home cookbook. And
you're gonna have to send me the recipe.
I will send you the recipe. It's very simple, and
it's hearty enough, like as a meal with something else.
Yeah, it's definitely hearty enough because.
What cabbage do you use? Like a white, big, regular cabbage?
Yeah, from farmer's market.
So with that cabbage, which is not the easiest pairing.
Yeah, but
what's
like for me, the best pairing, and I opened a bottle of Radovan. It's a producer from Slovenia, and he makes
which one?
Radovan.
Not Radakan.
No. And
Spell it.
Radovan.
And Radovan. From Slovenia.
Slovenia.
What kind of grapes?
And it's a blend of many different varieties.
Okay.
And he puts in a beautiful ceramic bottle. It's kind of a short skin contact. I think it's called moon drops, maybe, or sun drops. It's a short maceration, and then his long maceration.
And that goes well with
my God, it's
the spices and
all the
seeds
seeds you put in there, and the cilantro and stuff. Yeah, it's a.
You know, I don't have to tell you that's a first on the Grape Nation. I've asked 300 people. Nobody said Slovenian wine and cabbage.
Yeah,
okay?
but this is a special.
Well, no, that's why I asked you.
Yeah.
All right, third question. I'm not putting you on the spot with this. The question has always been your favorite wine restaurant and/or bar. So I'm not asking you for your favorites or to list them. I'm just asking you to riff about some places that come to mind where the list is great, the service is great, the vibe is great. I always say Pascalina Chambers. She checks every box.
I mean, it's literally, and Ventre in
Marco Pelletier, who you're making champagne with, which we didn't mention.
Yeah, it's just, I don't, get
what
out
about
that much.
Close to you? That's you sent me to a great taco place in some industrial area. Where would you send me to have a drink?
There's Bell's is really great. It's a great place.
Bell's is great.
Los Alamos.
That's fine dining.
Yeah,
Not fine dining, it's casual, but that's great dining with a great wine.
And then we have a really good restaurant in Cambria called Bridge, BRYDGE.
Is that relatively new?
Yeah, it's new. It's maybe a year or so.
Is that on the main drag or?
It's just off the main street on Bridge Street. Super good restaurant.
All
great
right,
food.
that's what I'm looking for.
Really, and they have a lot of great local wines, plus some other European wines. Just an amazing.
That's great.
I eat there at least once a week.
Bridge.
Yeah, it's great.
Good to know. See, that's why I asked you. That's not playing favorites. That's identifying a good restaurant in the neighborhood.
Oh, it's an amazing place.
All right. Fourth question. Favorite all-time wine. The original question was, and you would have been a good
favorite all-time wine.
Favorite all-time wine. The initial intention of the question was, what was the most expensive, rare wine you ever drank? You were around it in the old Michael Mina. I don't care about that.
Okay, my favorite. I have one.
So give me two. The other one is, what is that wine? This is the question. What is that wine in your life and wine that opened up your eyes, that changed the way you thought about it, that is important to you? And there's a reason why. But you don't have to give me the reason. Give me the wine.
It's the same. It's the same wine.
It is.
Yeah. It's the wine that kind of changed everything. A friend of mine, Justin Rutherford, opened a Magnum of it maybe like 4 years ago, maybe just before, 5 years, just before the pandemic. It was a 99 Magnum of Overnois Pulsard, and he's opened it at least once more since then. It blew my mind. That
Magnum is nice too.
How could you? I mean, Pulsard is considered a fragile grape. You drink it young, and
the ageability and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it was so amazing, so compelling, so complex. I mean, it just blew my mind. I was like, how can
99 you said
99,
and that's why you make Pulsard at Phelan.
There's no comparison.
No, but you listen, you identified that as the answer. That's an important winery and varietal and wine for you, So it's like, let me try not to replicate it.
No, but and then you meet the man. You go and it's like going for audience at Pierre Overnois. It's like it feels like you're going to see the Dalai Lama. He's just such a spiritual person.
He's getting older. There are a bunch of guys in the Rome like that. I guess everywhere. All right, that's a good one. I'm curious. I have to go back to past podcasts and see if that was it. All right, last question. Tell me best wines around 15, 20, 22 bucks. I'm looking for Raj Parr to tell me where the values are.
Hang on, $22 retail?
Retail. Now, I'm going to help you with the answer. You can get great Muscadet for $22. I mean, good category, good winemakers, good price. Stay within that ballpark.
Wow. I don't think I've gone to a retail shop.
Oh, you became so fancy and important you can't.
No. I mean, for me, like, $30 I can name probably a few.
Give me 30s.
Maybe like the Lo-Fi Gamay Pinot.
Okay.
The Istine, just the Chianti.
Not even the Classico?
I think
or is it Annata? The Annata's a year old.
Yeah, just the basic one.
Yeah. Chianti's a great value. Lo-Fi, which is not far from you.
Yeah.
Those guys, Mike, they're making great wines and all that.
Yeah. No, it's both those wines I would drink on any given day.
Okay. Those are good, and I'm going to post those. All right, I got to get you out of here. We got to wrap up. Every week when we have a winemaker, we do something called the weekly wine sip. Why wouldn't I sit with Raj Parr and taste his wines and discuss them? We did the 23 Chardonnay. We did the 23 Sauvignon Chard blend, and now we're doing the 22 Mondu. How do you pronounce it?
Mondouse.
All right. First, tell me about the grape. A lot of people have tasted it, a lot haven't.
Yeah, it's the mother of Syrah. It's an old variety, and it of course grows. It's been in California for a long time. You can check with Morgan from Bedrock. He can give you the history of Mondouse in California. But this is Mondouse. These originate from the Savoie. And it's always kind of a light, fresh, crunchy red. Alcohol is around 11% or less, and it's picked in November. And it's has that spicy, peppery what Syrah has.
Let's do an evaluation. So the color is a fairly deep purple, right?
Yeah.
It's got some nice deep color to it. It holds up on the edges. I'm sitting with the guy. Tell me the nose. What's the characteristic of this wine, and are those the characteristics of Mondouse normally?
100%.
Okay.
No, it's peppery on the nose. You have mulberry, blackberry, but not jammy fruit. Just kind of like, just like maybe like a puree of, and then as it opens up, right now we just open the bottle. As you open it up, it's going to taste more like lilacs and violet and become really floral, like sometimes.
So the mouthfeel is a medium. It's not a thin wine.
No,
it's not a big wine.
Exactly.
The palate, you just mentioned stuff. Is there anything that replicates the nose?
Yeah, you have.
Or there's even.
You have a little bit of a leathery and kind of mushroom.
Right off the top.
And tobacco.
Very earthy, leathery.
Yeah, that's Mondouse because the skins that.
That's a characteristic.
Of all the of Mondouse.
So when somebody says describe the fruit to me, what do you say as far as describing the fruit?
For me, it smells like blackberry, kind of blackberry compote.
But not like the jammy.
No, not jam, yeah.
All right, so that is the 2022 Phelan Farm Mondouse. Wonderful. What's a perfect pairing for this wine?
I think, this is something, could be a first red or maybe even a pear. You could have a charcuterie maybe, or pate of meat or of mushrooms.
Crap you don't eat anymore.
No, I eat mushrooms.
Yeah, you mentioned 9 things and a mushroom, All right, so that's the Phelan Farm, like I said, 2022 Mondouse. Raj, let me do a wrap up, and then I want to get a little more information on where to get more info, where to get wines. Let's just remind people about the 2 events coming up. So if you have a question, suggestion, wine happening, or event, hit me up at sam@thegrapenation.com. That's sam@thegrapenation.com. Listen to the Grape Nation podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods. Please subscribe to the Grape Nation if you like it, and leave a review if you like the podcast. Follow us on Instagram at @SBenRuby and on X @BenRuby, 2 different handles, but similar. You can always find us with the hashtag The Grape Nation. We're on Facebook at The Grape Nation. As I mentioned, we'll post Raj's wine list, which were his great answers. and his weekly wine sip, which turned out to be weekly wine sips, 3 different wines. I'll list them all on our social media sites. All right, Raj, if people want to find out more about the wines, about you, and most importantly, acquiring them, where do they go?
They can go to parcollective.com.
PARcollective.com.
Yeah. And we are updating the website right now. So
there's a commerce site to buy what's available, right?
So we're going to be updating it as we speak. So we're going to add a lot more content in there. And I don't really do that much social media, but I'm on Instagram at Raj Parr. You can
and Parr Collective.
And at Parr Collective.
Okay.
Or at Field and Farm Cambria. You can just
Field and Farm has its own.
Yeah, Field and Farm Cambria has its own. And you just reach out anytime and any questions. And I'll try to answer as quickly as possible.
And then the 2 festivals websites.
Yeah, they all are on the Parr Collective website.
So the Slow Coast and the We Could Be Zeros, you can get more info on the Parr Collective site.
Yeah, exactly. And they're available tickets on talk through our website.
That makes things very easy. All right, Raj, I got to let you go. I want to thank our guest, Raj Parr, for joining us on this monumental 300th episode. As I mentioned earlier, I couldn't think of a better guy to sit with and talk about it. Raj, it was great catching up on everything. Yeah. You look good. You don't look too stressed. Stay with it. So continued success. Thank you to our engineer, Armin, and everyone at the Heritage Radio Network. I'm Sam Ben-Ruby, and you've been listening to The Grape Nation. The Grape Nation is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.